Are you out there? Can you hear me? Thanks for joining. We're grateful that you're here. And we've got a lot of content and we're going to buzz through it. We got punchy content. We're just going to throw it at you, see if it sticks. But it's good stuff. So we're going to share a little bit about Domotz. We have a range of people who are familiar and people who have never heard of Domotz before. We're not going to spend a ton of time on that. What we're really going to spend time on today is two things. One, explaining how Domotz can fit into your business and ultimately make you money. Very important. And two, we're going to walk through the product and give you an overview of the product. And I guess I should have prefaced that really what we're here to do is give away free product. And I think that's why maybe a few of you might be here. And we have a few different ways we're going to give away product today. So we'll talk about that as we go. But we are grateful that you're here. We're recording this. We will send it to you afterwards. We also have like 30 minutes of content planned, but we're going to stick around after that. So if you have questions you'd like to have answered, Giancarlo and I will be around to answer your questions. I'm Jace Holyak. I'm the director of product marketing here. I used to work for an MSP, so I used to be one of you good guys, and I worked primarily on the marketing and sales side. I think just due to the nature of MSP life, I was also like installing access points sometimes and triaging a support ticket here and there. I've now been on the vendor side for a while, working for a few vendors, and excited to be here at Domotz with Giancarlo. If you want to introduce yourself really quick.
Thanks, Jace. I hope everyone can hear me well. Thanks for the introduction, Jace. I'm Giancarlo Fanelli, clearly Italian. My accent is pretty strong, even though I lived in the US for the last 8 years, and I'm based in South California. So good morning, everyone. Hope you will enjoy this presentation today. And as Jace mentioned, we will be here sticking around for a little bit longer than the presentation, just to answer any question you might have.
Perfect. I like that you just roll with my subheader I wrote for you, which is just very Italian. Okay, here's what we're going to talk about. I kind of already talked about the agenda, so let's just get into it. We're going to start by talking about the state of network monitoring for MSPs. This is based on what we're hearing from people. This isn't unique to Domotz or our perspective. This is just level setting what we're hearing from folks in the MSP world and what are common themes. There's a few of them. One, and the thing we hear the most often probably, is that network monitoring and management is viewed as an essential part of an MSP's tech stack. But I'm going to say maybe majority is not the right word, but a significant number of MSPs either don't have a network monitoring solution in place, or they've adopted a network monitoring solution, but they only have it deployed to 20 to 30% of their client base. And that's for a few reasons. One, it's expensive, which we'll talk about here in a little bit. And two, it can be complex. So for those MSPs, and I think it's a good chunk of MSPs that have a network monitoring solution deployed to only a subset of their customers, that causes some issues too, because then your technician has kind of two different paths depending on the client that they're triaging the issue for. One, do I have the network monitoring intel? And if I do, great, I can do all these things. Two, if I have a client that doesn't have it, my whole process is going to be completely different. And that can cause some issues as well. The other thing we hear often is that networks erode time and money for your team. If an unexpected issue pops up, if a network goes down, you're beholden at any given moment to how your customer networks are performing. And that can be like a little unsettling, right? Because maybe you don't know exactly when that's going to happen. And that's a common thread we hear as well. And then just kind of four other things. And maybe you relate to one of these things. Maybe you relate to all four of them for your sake. I hope not all four, but here's some other common themes we're hearing of problems when it comes to network monitoring and overall just support of your clients in the MSP world. One is that blind spots are causing unforeseen disruptions. If you're contractually obligated to support a client and there's shadow hardware, shadow IT in that environment that you don't know exists, and then an issue happens with those, all of a sudden you're responsible for that issue, and that causes disruptions because you didn't even know that existed. That's a common example we hear as well. Reactive firefighting is the norm and is inefficient. I was talking with an MSP, I don't know, a week or two ago, and he was explaining to me that before he had network monitoring in place, he was reliant on the customer to tell them when there's an issue. versus maybe I can see some of that issue starting to unfold a little bit before the customer tells me and start remediating that issue beforehand. Third, troubleshooting is slow and tedious. If you don't have that big picture of what is this, what's in this environment, what am I responsible for, what are the health properties of those devices, and what are just the properties of the device in general, you're spending a little bit more time at the beginning of the triage process getting that basic information, which is tedious and can often involve rolling a truck on site or sending someone on site to do some of that investigation and data gathering. The last issue we'll talk about here today is that outages demand more damage control. If a network's not performing great, if there's frequent disruptions, that causes that impacts your customer's productivity and can increase frustration. So if I were to summarize everything, all these problems, I would just say the impact of this is significant. It's costing you more money, it's more stressful, and it's less satisfaction for the customers. So what are I think just to level set, I'm going to do a really quick one slider about Domotz. Again, that's not the main reason we're here to explain ourselves, but just to level set, kind of here's what the main players are in the space. So Auvik, Logic Monitor, PRTG, and Domotz are the most common network monitoring solutions in place. So if you're trying to figure out in your mind, where does Domotz fit? We're in that category. And let me introduce Domotz a little bit. So we've been around for 10 years, 10-year anniversary this year. We have offices in Utah, Italy, and Bulgaria. We support more than 4 million devices and 40,000 plus networks. And we've actually are somewhat new to the MSP world. Not really. We've been around for about 4 years now, but we service a lot of MSPs at this point. So I see a comment here. Can you mention pricing as well? Yeah, we're going to dive into pricing, and we'll explain it all very transparently here in a second. So what are we trying to do at Domotz? We're trying to do a few things. One, we're trying to help our customers identify all network, but also all the other devices connected to the network. That can be functional devices, any cloud connected asset, IoT, operational technology. We want to give you visibility into understanding everything that's connected to the network, but also the status and health of those devices. We also want to enable you to resolve issues faster and with fewer resources. And we've designed our product in a way that we feel confident in your ability to do that with Domotz. And lastly, I think the end goal here is you're responsible to deliver a quality service. Domotz is designed to help you do that. We want to give you the tool you need to provide reliable network performance and a better end user experience. So where are we different? I mentioned some of the vendors on the previous slide. How is Domotz different? And when we dive into the product, you'll see these things in action. But at a high level, there's 3 things I want to touch on. One is our accessibility. And when I say accessibility, I mean it in 2 ways. One, the design of our product. It's an agentless design, which makes deployment really easy to do. And 2, our price point is very cost effective and allows MSPs to deploy the solution across their whole fleet of customers and kind of eliminate that limbo of only having to deploy to a subset of customers. We're often able to empower our MSP partners to deploy across their whole fleet at a very similar cost to what they're paying with a vendor where they might only be deploying on a subset. We're also, one other thing about accessibility too, from an evaluation perspective, we've designed our product to be very easy to evaluate and accessible. You can start your trial online and you can evaluate the product and you can purchase all without talking to sales, or you can talk with sales and have that kind of one-to-one relationship and relationship with our sales engineering team as well, who can help make sure that you're realizing all the value that Domotz has to offer. So accessible in those 2 ways. Another way we're different is the way we do discovery and device identification. We are identifying devices by performing a layer 2 and layer 3 scan. So we're identifying devices by the MAC address, not just the IP address, which is what all of our competitors do. This allows us to more accurately identify all the devices and provide you those device properties, which we'll show you here in a second too. Very important though that you understand what devices you're supporting and their properties. The last thing is we go beyond basic monitoring, and we have a suite of management features as well. to allow you to not just see there's an issue, but have tools to triage and resolve the issue. So that's about us. Let's get into the good stuff, which is how do you make money with Domotz? And before I kind of explain 3 different ways you can, let's just briefly introduce the architecture of how Domotz works. So you have all of this IT infrastructure that's connected to a network that you're responsible for supporting. You deploy a Domotz collector. We have 16 different deployment options. This can be software. This can also be hardware. We have our own Domotz box, which is this little bit of proprietary hardware here, which you can plug into a network, and it's an option for deployment. And that collector then ingests all of those devices, discovers all those devices, and identifies them and surfaces them in our web application, which is our in this graph, the Domotz network monitoring and management platform. From there, you can do 3 things. 1, you can discover, which is just seeing all of the things that are connected to the network. 2 is understanding how they're performing and their health of those devices by monitoring things like SNMP. And lastly, to manage those devices. This is focusing on acting like remote access or power management or configuration management. We have a whole suite of solutions we'll talk about there in a second. And then the last thing is we don't live on an island. We integrate with your other existing tech stack, and we do that bidirectionally and can actually add value to the workflows you already have in these different solutions as well. All right, so let's talk through how do you make money? It's good, always good to talk about how to make money. 3 levels we're going to talk about, and I'm going to go through the cost associated with Domotz to achieve revenue in each one of these 3 levels as well. So someone who asked about pricing, we're going to dive into that right now. So let's start on level 1. Level 1, we're saying you can make money with Domotz at the discovery level, which is just the level from a functionality perspective. When I say discovery, what I'm referring to is the detection of the device, the identification of what is this device and what are its properties, and displaying the online, offline, in real time. So just those 3 things, you can make money. What's the cost to Domotz for using to make money at this level is $0. If you go back to the beginning where I was talking about some of the problems we're hearing in the MSP space, the biggest one is price. Like it's expensive and it's cost prohibitive to deploy across your fleet. Our perspective here is that this is essential. Discovery is essential, and we're working on a product right now, and we'll be releasing it in the near future, which will provide this functionality free, no strings attached. Like totally, you've just created a free account. You don't even need to put in your credit card, and you can do discovery for free across unlimited sites. You can discover all the devices and identify them and see their online or offline state. You don't have to wait for that. We're still developing that, but today we have a beta, which is not referencing the product functionality, but referencing this free package where we are giving free access to our product to MSPs. And I'll talk through that a little bit more in a second. But you can make money here. If you are speaking with a prospect and you are proposing a contract or pitching your proposal to them of your services, it's really important that you know all the devices that are on their network that you are going to be ultimately responsible for supporting. And you can do that. You can do that by plugging in this Domotz box or deploying the collector, and you can do that free for unlimited sites. All right, service delivery. This is the next level. I'll go back here. So now we're saying, okay, just on level 1, free, by the way, you can discover and understand everything that's connected. Let's go up. Go up another level and talk through how you can realize more revenue here. So service delivery goes beyond just discovering that a device exists and actually monitoring the health properties of those devices to understand if an issue is imminent. So this is things like SNMP monitoring. We scripting, which allows you, it's an open development framework, which allows you to pull any other metrics you'd like to monitor from any device. It's the world's your ocean. You can do anything you'd like. And then you can also monitor the network properties as well. Things like IP conflict resolution, the speed of the network that you're supporting, the jitter, the buffer bloat. You can scan for open ports. There's a lot of other elements to this kind of service delivery level. Also included in this service delivery level is the ability to remotely manage the customers you're supporting. So configuration management, remote access, alerting, all of that is included here. Our price for this functionality is $1.50 per device per month. And we're not dictating to you what devices you need to manage. You get full control over which ones you want this feature functionality for, and you select those yourself. This is different, right? If you're going head to head against another MSP and you are able to position yourself as, we're not just waiting for you to submit a ticket and then we have an SLA of this and we're going to get it resolved. You are saying, no, we're proactively in your environment, monitoring the health of your devices, and we are going to actually start working on issues before you even have to tell us there's an issue. That's a big differentiator for you and something that you can charge for and make money off of. All right, last level. I know I don't want to dominate the time here. I want to get to Giancarlo quickly, but I just have kind of two more things to cover. So this last level is another way you can make money, and this is more of a internal cost and resource savings way to make money. So we integrate with all the tools in your tech stack. Think IT documentation, your PSA, your RMM, and we do that bi-directionally. So if we identify there's an issue, you can set up in Domotz to automatically create a ticket to resolve that issue in your PSA. Also, on the flip side, if we have identified that an issue has been resolved, we can automatically close tickets in your PSA. So ultimately, two things. One, you don't have to have two different paths now because you can deploy Domotz across your whole fleet. And two, we're going to integrate right into your business processes and your workflows today, and it can be standardized across your whole customer base. For integrations, it's the same pricing. We don't charge extra for that. It's the $1.50 per month, and those managed devices will have the ability to be integrated into your solutions. Okay, last thing for me. I've gone like 2 minutes over, but we have time. Hopefully, you have time as well before we go to the product demonstration. Like I mentioned, we are offering today a beta version to test our free version of Domotz, and this is available for MSPs. We strongly believe that network monitoring is essential, but it's not priced in a way that's accessible for a lot of MSPs. So what are we doing about it? I already mentioned this. We're developing a free version of our product and inviting you to apply. Many of you today are already in this. If you are not, I recommend you apply. I'm going to just show you. So we have Violet. I think if you can chuck the link in chat. It's simple. You fill out this form. You put your name, first name, last name, your work email. You create an account, and then you're going to be put into the product, and you're going to be granted not only the discovery piece, but we're also going to give you 10 free managed devices that can be used for those level 2, level 3 revenue centers that I talked about. You can do the granular monitoring of those devices. You can manage them. You can integrate them. So what we're really asking you today for is to just try the beta. Like, no cost to you, low risk, high reward. We feel confident in our ability to improve your support motion, and please apply. Also, before I hand it over to Giancarlo, last thing from me for now is we are giving away some Domotz boxes. We're going to give away, and like I said, this is one option to deploy Domotz. There's other software-based options as well. We're going to give away a few of these live today. We're also going to give away, I think we're going to give away 3 or so today, where you can, we'll ship it to you. You'll provide us our address. We're also going to give 2 more of these after the fact to people who sign up for the beta during the webinar. So if you're here and you're not in the beta, sign up. We'll, potentially you could win a Domotz box. If you are here and you're already in the beta, we've got you documented as well, so you'll be eligible from when we pull from the hat for that too. With that said, that's a lot. I hope it was valuable for you. I'm going to pass it over to the meat and potatoes of the webinar, which is going to be going through the product. And grateful again that you're here, and I'll stick around if you have questions after the fact too.
Thanks a lot, Jace. And let me start sharing my screen. Share screen. Yeah. So, just can you please confirm you're seeing my Domotz web app with
Yep.
the map of all the sites that I've installed so far. As Violet was mentioning in the chat, with somebody asking for the Domotz box, there are multiple ways of installing the collector locally on the network to discover all the devices on the network and start monitoring. The most used one usually is the Windows. It's a Windows collector. It's like a software installed on Windows. You can install on a Linux, Debian, or Ubuntu. We have Docker version. We have virtual machines like VMware, Proxmox, and so on, as well as some hardware of possibility like our Domotz box, or there is a US-based manufacturer which provides a hardware with the Domotz collector pre-installed on the appliance. So once the Domotz is installed on a network, it starts scanning the network, identify all the devices on the network, and most importantly, um, as Jace has mentioned multiple times, it creates what is the list of all the devices, the assets. This is part of the CIS control. Number one, you need to be aware of all the list of devices that are available on the network of your customers or your networks. And of course, starting from the device discovered on the network, Domotz will be able to create a topology of how the devices are connected to each other. Of course, this is all based on information that we can collect from devices like switches, where we can identify how the devices are connected on each port of the switch and tells you, okay, there is this device, this access point, for instance, this access point is connected to port 13 of this switch, and this is the traffic errors, discarded packets on that specific network interface of the switch itself, but also collecting information from switches like, access point like Cisco Meraki, Ubiquiti, and all the access point that we do support. So this is all part of the first layer. You remember the division that Jace was mentioning. There is the first discovery and visibility of the network and all the appliances that are on the network. And we give this visibility for free. We give the information about the devices, the MAC address, IP address, the device type, the vendor, the model. This is all for free. Where you see like how to manage devices, they are all devices where you don't pay. And then you jump into the second pillar. I'm going to be a little bit fast, but as Jace was mentioning, at the end of the first 30 minutes, we will be here and we can answer to all the questions you might have. So I was mentioning the second pillar is monitoring. So whenever you really need to have more visibility on the device itself, you can mark the device as managed device, and you can start looking at SNMP. Just to give an example, if I look at my brother's printers, I can set up SNMP so that I can extract the information about ink level for every single ink. And for all those information, you have an historical graph. You can set up alerts so that you can get notification as soon as the ink level is lower. And for the same reason, you can do the same for UPS. UPS or PDUs and collect the information about the battery level of the device itself. So in this case, I am collecting the battery level, estimated remaining minutes, and so on. And we also discussed about the switches, for instance. So if I have a switch for every single interface, we extract traffic, we extract errors, and for the same reason, you can put alerts on every single entity there. And this is when it comes to the monitoring part. We mentioned that you can put triggers so that you can get alerts as soon as something happens on the network, like the device goes offline, or the ink level is very low, or the traffic on a specific port is very high, or the port status is down, like in this case, and so on. So all the alerts that can be triggered through Domotz, and we will see as a business workflow, can be forwarded to your PSA platform or your ticketing system. But of course, whatever happens on the network remains in Domotz as well. So you can check, for instance, the status of you can check the history of every single entity or event that happens in Domotz, like the device goes down, device goes up, And as you can see here, the device has changed the IP address from 168.1 to 175. I want to mention this because this is really a key difference with all the other network monitoring solution that Jace has mentioning during the presentation. Why is there? Because Domotz scans the network starting from a layer 2, which is the MAC address, basically. So every single device is identified by the MAC address, which is the physical address of the device. So if the device change IP address, we recognize that it's the same device, and we can mark the device as changing IP address. All the other network monitoring solution, including other, let's say, open source solution like Zabbix or Nagios or so on, they start scanning the network at layer 3, which is the IP address. So they uniquely identify the device by the IP address. If the device changes the IP address, for those tools, the device it's a different entity. And it changes everything in the discovery, it changes everything in the how you map the device, the information from the monitoring tool to the physical device. Now, the last thing I want to mention is in terms of monitoring, we do also perform monitoring of configuration files for the device itself. We do perform backup of the configuration file of switches, access point, firewall, and so on, so that you can see if there is any difference between the last screenshot, the last snapshot, and the previous snapshot. If there is such an issue, you will be notified as well. So in this case, there is a change in the interfaces, and you can get notified about that. This kind of functionality brings me to the third pillar, which is the management part, or where you can really react to whatever happens on the network, which is through the monitoring, and you can perform actions remotely into that network. For instance, you see the button restore. So with the change that I was displaying, I can basically restore the previous version because the last one doesn't work. Similarly, if you have a misconfiguration between the startup and runtime configuration of a network appliance, you can restore the startup, or you can restore the runtime and save it to the startup. Now, this brings me to the last chapter, the last pillar, which is the management part. In terms of management, you might have noticed that you can control the power of every single PoE port of switches. So, for instance, Domotz automatically recognize that this access point, it's a Cisco Meraki access point, if I remember correctly, is connected to port 13 of the switch, and you can control the power directly from Domotz. So from the switch itself, you can control the power of that port and basically reboot the access point. But very, very similarly, you can do the same for through the outlet of PDUs. So if I have a PDU or a UPS, like in this case, I have a CyberPower PDU, I can basically control every single outlet of the PDU itself. PDU is the power distribution unit. So imagine you have your firewall connected to the port of the PDU, you can reboot the firewall itself. But management means also that you will be able to jump into the web interface of the device itself. We provide a very simple to use remote connectivity capability, which allows you to jump into the. You still see my screen, right? My tab, or you see Domotz. Okay, let me share. I think now you see the browser printers.
There we go.
Okay, so when I click on the Domotz portal, it opens this browser, this new tab, which brings you to the web interface of the printer itself. Let me share. Let me go back to Domotz web interface. The last item that I want to talk about, remote management. As I was mentioning, we do power control, we do remote connectivity, but we also allow, through the means of automation scripts, we also allow users to perform any action they want on the device they want with the protocol they want. I usually provide this example. I have this Samsung TV at home, which has posed some API, very simple and standard API. I've created a small script which allows me to change TV channel on top of retrieving all the information, vitals information that are available on the TV itself. We have one use case, a large customer with a lot of offices where every single TV they used to have on the entire day and night because they had to have on during the day. Thanks to Domotz, they can turn on the TV at 7 a.m. and turn off the TV at 8 p.m., saving a lot of energy for that switch. And this brings me to the end of the last pillar, no, which is the management, remote connectivity at the local level and the site level, power management, and custom scripting for remote combats. And everything is sustained by business workflow. Um, our tool doesn't live alone. We do integrate with the stack that you are familiar with, IT Glue, ConnectWise, Datto Autotask, HelloPSA, and all of the other services that you are very, very familiar with. With that being said, I think we are just in time for the 30 minutes. I will stop sharing, go back to the studio together with Jace and ready to answer any of your questions.
Yeah, one quick thing too. So just for I'm getting all these pings about people applying for the beta. Let me just explain one more part about the process. So you fill out the form that we shared the link for. You create your account, which is an important part, which it'll just redirect you to do that. And then we on the back end review all the applicants just to make sure that you're an MSP, because right now it's just an exclusive program for MSPs. And then once we do that, which we'll do today, you'll get an email that you've been accepted into the program. At that point, we'll apply. You have 14 days. You still have 14 days to test fully Domotz, unlimited managed devices in that 14 days. At the end of the 14 days, we grant you 10 managed devices. So you'll continue to have access to the product. You'll have 10 managed devices for free. If you go over the 10 managed devices, you'll be charged, but you won't be charged if you go over. So that is the that's the overview. It's also the reason we call it a beta is not, like I said, not because the product's any different, but because we're still developing from a operational perspective our free offering. So there is a nuance as well, which is at the end of your 14-day trial for the beta, you have to enter your credit card. This is not us trying to get money from you if you want to stay on free. This is just a logistical thing we're working through from the product perspective at this point. And like I said, you will not be charged unless you go over 10 managed devices, which hopefully you see the value and that's a natural path for you. But I just wanted to explain kind of the process a little bit because I've seen a few questions come in about that. I think we can stick around for questions, but for those that have to bounce before we dive into any questions, Violet, should we give away some more hardware as well? Violet's on our team here at Domotz. I'll invite her up, and I think we're going to give some goodies away.
Hi, everyone. Yeah, thank you very much. Nice to have you with us. So we've got a few winners of the Domotz box. We said we'd give away 5, so we'll pick 2 or 3 live on the air, and then we'll go through the the list of everyone in the beta. So apply for that, and we'll pick a couple more. So today's winners are drawn randomly. Jason Leith, Mitch Galamb, and last one to pick is sorry.
That's suspenseful.
Sorry. It's very suspenseful for me too because I don't know how to pick this last one. Okay. Larry French will be the final.
Awesome. Okay, for those 3 of you, we need a shipping address. Obviously, I wouldn't recommend putting it in chat right now, but reply to the email. We'll send you we'll send you a follow-up email. Reply to it. If you didn't get chosen, you can still get a box. You sign up for the beta. We're going to give away a few more for folks that do sign up for the beta.
So
and then
I think Ali was definitely interested in a box as well as a Artium. So yeah, sign up for the beta. You will probably win that.
Yeah, and you don't need a box to deploy Domotz either. There's software-based options too. So, you know, all is not lost. We're still giving away free product for everyone. So
Free everything.
hopefully that's good. Free. So let's answer some questions. Anyone that has any, I think we saw a few come in.
There are a few questions. So I saw a couple of them. I can answer one, which is a technical question, is from Artyom CIO. He is asking if there is any difference between information displayed, collected and displayed through SMP v2 and v3. In terms of data and common that you can even trigger through SMP v2 and v3, there is no difference at all in Domotz. However, the protocol is different because it's a security layer that they have added with the v3. So it's the way we collect the data which is different, and the way that the device itself exposes the information. V2 is based on what they call the community strings. There is a community string for read, and there is a community string for read and write. Usually it's public and private, it's the default. While the v3 is based on encryption criteria, and there is a username. It's very, very similar to username and password with encryption layer and keys for that. So to be clear, v3 is usually much more robust in terms of security than v2. And then there is a question, yeah, Jace, there's a question, probably you can answer that one. Is a question from Christopher, is asking which devices are marked as managed device. What is considered as a managed device?
Yeah.
And I answered in the chat very briefly, but you can provide a little bit more information there.
Sure. We also had a question, which is, how do I confirm I've been accepted into the beta? This is what I was saying earlier. So we have a process on the back end to confirm that everything's good to go. You're an MSP. That's all we're really checking. And you'll receive an acceptance email. So hang tight. We'll get that. We'll do that review today, and you'll get an email that says you're in. For the question, what is a managed device? So this is a very important question and a very important distinction, because this is how we bill. So for every device, unmanaged device, you get the device discovered, the device identified, which means the properties associated with the device, the make, the model, the manufacturer, the MAC address. We're discovering all that and surfacing it in our product. And you get the device status, online or offline, from the portal. All of that is free for unlimited devices. We only charge for managed devices. And managed devices are devices that have all that functionality, but also get access to, you can trigger alerts on those devices. You can monitor SNMP credentials. You can remote access those devices. You can power management those devices. You can configuration management those devices. You can integrate those devices. So, so that is that's the difference. The difference is every device, we're not going to, at a basic level, we're going to provide discovery, identification, and device status in real time for free. If you want that additional functionality, you need to pay $1.50 per device for those managed devices.
There is another question, just for clarification, from Larry, which makes sense, and we usually get a surprise face from every user. Let's suppose you are not in a beta program to get the 10 device free. The minimum number of devices you subscribe is 20, which is basically $30. Now, the $30 is for the whole account, not for every single client that you subscribe into Domotz. So it's for the whole account. The minimum number of devices across all the different sites is 20 devices. I hope, Larry, that answered your doubt about the end of the beta.
And if you're in beta, there's no minimum. So you get the free access. So
yeah. And after that, also probably answer your question about can I manage multi-customer environments in a single portal? Definitely, Domotz is a multi-tenant platform. With your single account, you can manage as many organizations or customers as you want. And for every single organization or client, you can manage different sites. I didn't show a part of the platform which is called inventory, where you can distribute your customer across all the organization, and then for every single organization, multiple sites, and then for every single site, all the devices and assets that you want to monitor. So that you can, just to give an idea, you can look at the firmware version of all the Cisco devices across all the customers with one single query.
Two things. One, does every agent count as a managed device? If you're, I don't know if you're referring to device. Does every device count as a managed device? In that case, the answer is no. You select whichever devices you want that functionality I explained for. If that's not what you're asking, clarify, and we can answer that. And then Giancarlo, I think it would be good. Like we had Manuel ask, where can I buy a box to test? Can you, Giancarlo, can you walk through kind of the pros and cons of using the box versus software and
Absolutely.
like that process, the deployment
Absolutely.
process?
I can share my screen again just to have that in front of me. So when we were looking at the Explorer, and this is where you have the site, there are multiple options, as we were mentioning. There are software-based collector. So if you have your own server, Windows Server, Linux Server, or a NAS drive like Synology, all the functionality that are available through the Domotz box are also available through the software version. The Domotz box is, let's say, a convenient way of having the collector on a site where you don't have anything. You don't have a server, you don't have a PC, you don't have a NAS drive. You can then get the Domotz box. If you live in US, the Domotz box can be purchased directly on Amazon. So there is a link to Amazon from the Domotz portal where you can get a Domotz box. The cost on Amazon is $139 per box. Outside of the US, we leverage, and there was a question from somebody else, we leverage a global distributor. His name is IC Intracom, and you can purchase the Domotz box from there. However, the Domotz collector also comes pre-installed on hardware provided by a company by the name of Protectly. Usually it's a much more robust hardware than the Domotz box. It costs a little bit more, and similar to the Domotz collector or the Domotz box, it comes with the Domotz collector pre-installed. I hope that helps addressing your question.
Yeah, and then Abdul clarified his question too, which is, does the device that you deploy the collector on count as a managed device? And I believe the answer is no.
The answer is no. Yeah.
Okay.
We suggest to select that one at the beginning, but you can unselect that one. In my environment, for instance, I don't care about the Domotz box. So Manuel was also asking if the trial is intended to work in my data center infrastructure, how can I skip the network collection and finish the account creation? I don't get probably that question. Probably, I don't know if Jace has anything on that one. If you're referring to the Domotz account, when you create the account, the first step that it requires to install the collector, just because we want to give you an idea of what the collector can do and what the network monitor can do. So you can install locally, even at home, a simple collector on your Windows PC and see how it behaves in the local network. And that's because we want to give you fully visibility on the capability of the Domotz. Larry was asking about the Domotz box itself and whether we have upgraded the hardware. Not yet. It's still the same hardware that we developed like 7 years ago right now. And as a matter of fact, for big networks and for networks where you require a lot of SNMP v3, for instance, we usually recommend our onboarding team usually recommends you to leverage the Protectly hardware or any other Windows PC or server or Linux server that you are available. And that's just because the Domotz box is somehow limited in terms of CPU. Good news is that we are in the process of developing a new version. We should have some indication of when it will be available by the end of this year.
I was
Thanks,
just gonna
Violet, for
Yeah, I was going to jump into, and I think we had a few comments or from Manuel as well about the wizard. Manuel, let's connect on that actually after. I want to make sure I understand what problem you're having there and make sure that we understand how we can fix it. So that's let me put in my email. That the one you put in is actually not my email. So Manuel, just shoot me an email and let's chat about this. I'd actually love to jump on just even a phone call just to understand what you're running into.
Yeah, I'm very well aware of what he's referring to.
Okay.
We can discuss with Jason as well. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Great. Okay. Okay. What else do we have here? Anything else? I'm just scanning back. How many organizations can I manage, and how many Domotz agent can I install in a network? Giancarlo, if you're managing multiple networks, do you need just one collector per network?
I saw also another probably connected or related question is the discovery done through the VPN connection? It can be done through the VPN connection. So imagine you have a data center and all the remote networks that you want to monitor, they are connected through the VPN. You can definitely have one collector which scans multiple networks. There are some, I mean, let's say there are some differences by scanning the local network in layer 2. So when you have a device, which might be the Windows PC or the Domotz box installed on the local network, connected to the switch, physically connected to the switch, it scans the network in layer 2, which means it collects all the information starting from the MAC address I was mentioning before. You can use also the VPN, and you can have the Domotz collector on the data center, one single collector scanning multiple networks from the data center. However, the scans and monitoring is based on layer 3. So you have the same limitation that the other monitoring solution has. And then on top of that, when it scans multiple networks from one single collector, you remember my UI where I see all my different networks I can probably share again. Basically, they will be grouped together in the same view. So if you install the collector on your Azure and through the VPN you scan multiple networks, multiple subnets, they will all show as one single entity, one single collector, or one single site. So it's really the approach that we usually suggest is to install one collector per site or per physical network, or at least per organization that you want to monitor.
Great. And then Abdul asked what constitutes a billable node. So this screen you're seeing here, all of those in that list are different collectors that have been deployed. We don't charge based on collector. So you can deploy unlimited collectors. If you have 100 sites, you can deploy a collector to each site. We only charge when the specific devices that have been discovered, you want that additional functionality for. So that's kind of going back to the presentation where I talked about that layer 1 discovery. Discover everything across every site, unlimited. And then when you're ready to graduate to level 2, the service delivery enhancement, kind of like revenue center we talked about, where you can alert on devices and alert on SNMP metrics and do remote connection and all the power management and all that other feature functionality we talked about. That's where you're going to pay for a managed device for that functionality. Otherwise, if you're just doing discovery, we don't bill by the collector.
So in this example, I scan my local network. It's 200 devices total, but I'm only paying for the 35 that I'm interested into. And it's up to me to monitor those devices. So if all of a sudden I have one device that, I really need to care about this printer because I need to set, I don't know, whatever, I need to set SMP and so on, I can add that one and it will be counted as a managed device. And so now I will have 36 devices, managed device.
Okay, I think we caught up. We still have a good chunk of people here. So if you have any questions, we're around. If you need anything, otherwise we can wrap up. We will send the recording out after the webinar, so you'll have access to that if you want to review anything. Oh, let me show one more thing here. So just so you have it, let's just do this. Share this screen really quick. So, okay, so here's a few points of reference if you need to get a hold of us. There's my email. There's Giancarlo's email. You also have sales and support emails if you want to pursue that. And then in product, also in the bottom right hand screen, we have a little chat widget, which is our AI bot, but also connects to our support team. So you can get connected to us there if you have any issues, or if you want some hand holding during the onboarding, or some support from our sales engineering team or support team, reach out to us there, and we're happy to jump on a call and walk through it with you as well. So
there is another couple of questions there coming,
okay.
which is I'm very like to see this engagement here. So Larry, there are no SNMP metrics anymore. So there is no concept of limits on the SNMP metrics. So as far as you monitor one switch or one access point or one printer, and you want to monitor all the ink levels, and on a switch, you want to monitor all the ports and all the metrics on the ports, there are no limits. You won't see any limits there. Thanks. And there is a question from Abdul regarding the switches in stack. So if you have, let's say, 8 switches, physical switches, and they are configured as a stack, you can basically, so if they are seen as different L2 switches, you can group them together and they appear as one single entity, and they will be charged for one single entity. However, switches that are in stack usually are seen with one single IP address anyway from the Domotz collector, and so again they will be seen as one single billable device. Very good, very good. Do only manage device integrate? So Christopher, there is a question from Christopher. Do only manage device integrate? When you speak about integrate, I think you refer to like integrate with IT Glue or with other external entities, like you want to send an alert in connect to ISPSA or a ticket to ServiceNow, something like that. Yeah, that is true. Only the managed device integrate with the external services. Like you want to set an alert on the device when the device goes offline. You want to open a ticket and connect device. The device now needs to be managed device.
And if you have questions, keep them coming. One thing I'm going to plug as well. We've got another webinar at the end of this month where it's going to be a fun webinar. It's not a sales webinar. It's just going to be talking through and reviewing some of the worst IT support tickets ever received. So we've asked, we've partnered with a few other vendors in the MSP space. You might know Empath, you might know Helped. We're going to join a webinar with both of them, and we've invited our registrants to share kind of their worst support ticket. And we're going to review some of those live and just have a good laugh, and then share some kind of common threads of what we're hearing in terms of pain points with support today, and some best practices as well to maybe how to make that a little bit easier. So we will, you'll be getting an invite for that too, I'm sure, over the next few days. If you enjoyed this webinar, I think the next webinar is going to be, so much more fun, and it's going to be really good. So really encourage you to sign up and register for that as well. Not seeing any other ones come in. So if you do have something after the fact, let us know, and we'll make sure we get it answered. We're always around. Our support team is excellent, so don't hesitate to reach out if you have any questions. Otherwise, I think we can wrap it up. Thanks everyone for attending. We'll hopefully see you. We'll see you in product, hopefully in the beta, and also hopefully to see you at the webinar later this month. And you'll get the recording afterwards as well. So see you next time. Thanks.